Always live lovely.
You are now listening to Breaking Barriers, a mental health discussion. I'm your host, Chetina Guadalupe. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, consultant, speaker, and singer. Breaking Barriers, a mental health discussion was created to provide examples of conversations with various people on stigmatizing topics, to break barriers so that you can be encouraged to go within your own community and have these same conversations. Each episode is timeless. There's always something that you can receive from it over and over again. We push the bar a little bit with the topics we talk about. That's why it's called Breaking Barriers. We speak about things that people typically aren't creating space for so that we can all receive healing. Share with everyone you know because of this. There's something that everyone can benefit from in each episode. If you like what you hear and would like to support Always Live Lovely, please donate. This helps us to be able to continue to provide free information on multiple platforms. I will leave the link below. We appreciate any support you're able to provide to keep this thing going. If you would like to stay connected with all things Always Live Lovely, you can visit us at www.alwayslivelovely.com. We provide individual mental health, therapy services, consultations, products, music, information on upcoming events, and so much more. Don't miss out. And of course, if you like my vibe and you would like me to speak on your platform or at your next mental health event, connect with me at connect@alwayslivelovely.com. Enjoy the episode and remember, always live lovely.
Always living lovely. Just don't let the times go by. Do something. You don't gotta go outside yourself to prove nothing. You can lean on me if you need a hand. You can lean on me if you need a friend. You know that I got you. You know that we got you. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the full season finale. Because the last time was that was the first, second, and third school, but now we add a cherry on top for the season finale of Breaking Barriers of Mental Health Conversation. And we are going to start where we left off from last time, because I told y'all when I ended part one that there's going to be a part two. So today we are finishing our discussion on becoming a mother. But in the first part, we talked more about just the pregnancies, like journeys leading up, labor and delivery. And this time is going to focus completely on the postpartum, meaning giving birth all the way up until that first birthday of our children. And then welcome again to Gabrielle McQueen. I will have Gabrielle reintroduce herself because, sometimes people be watching episodes out of order. So I need to make sure that they know who is on this episode and don't forget it. Gabrielle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gabrielle McQueen. I am an associate marriage and family therapist. I also am a practice owner of a group practice, telehealth only, Open Minds, Marriage and Family Counseling Services Corp. And I'm so happy to be here. I've been doing therapy for almost 10 years in nonprofits and as well in private practice.
Yes, very happy to have you on here again. Once again, y'all, my name is Chetina Guadalupe. If you didn't already know, licensed marriage and family therapist, owner of Always Live Lovely at private practice, as well as the host of this here podcast. Last time, I was thinking it was going to be one episode, but we had so much good stuff to say and share that I was like, listen here, we going to run this back. We going to finish this off with a part two, because we going to do this right, and we going to give Black mamas the space they deserve to share and process and help uplift each other in the way that's needed. So I know we ended the last episode kind of beginning to touch on a little bit of pet peeves, because there's the wonderful sides of the postpartum experience, which we will get to. But since we already kind of started there and being able to touch on some of the difficulties of the experience, I definitely would like to just ask you, what are some of the common pet peeves that you feel like you experienced during that first year up into your son's first birthday, whether it be one pet peeve or two. I know I even saw one on Instagram, which might be much more a stigma. So I think I'm going to leave that one to the stigma part, stigma talking about that. But as far as pet peeves, what are some top things that you just experience with people and it just icks you to where you like, come on, y'all acting like y'all ain't been mamas before.
Right. I would definitely say people asking me about baby number two, way too soon. And my son is 2 now and it's still too soon. Do not ask me. But people were asking me this, like, no lie, like a week after having my child. Like I
Yeah.
just got home and people were like, oh, like, okay, yeah, it's time to go ahead, have another one. Ma'am, no, like,
Yeah.
no. That was really frustrating for me because especially most of us coming from like older people in the family, but also just like people who aren't parents and just assuming like, oh, it's making it seem like it should be easier. I would get feedback like, oh no, you want to have another one because then the kids can occupy themselves. And I never bought into that narrative. And even now, my son is a very active 2-year-old. And I look at him sometimes, I'm like, there's no way I would want 2 of you running around or just like trying to manage putting a newborn to sleep or the newborn nap time, how that goes. And his crazy butt running up and down the hallway, screaming, singing, all the stuff that 2-year-olds do. I would literally, I don't know how people do it. I commend people who have multiple
Right,
kids
have the two
or
under
like
two.
like a 2 under 2 or a toddler and a newborn. I feel like he would need to be like in elementary school to understand like you need to be quiet, the baby's sleeping. Like right now, he can't understand that and I don't have the patience. So I think people just overstepping that boundary of asking too soon or just asking in general. I just think the questions should never be asked. Like if the parents openly say like, oh, we're thinking about having another one, great. There's your invitation to talk about it. But if that's not said, like it shouldn't be a thing that's asked. Another was like weights, body
Well,
weight.
first, even before you get to the weight, I'll
Okay,
say
I
for the
was
pet
like,
peeve part, for the pet peeve part of just like baby number two, I feel like society puts that pressure on people of like we're just supposed to keep going, keep going, keep going. And people seem like they ready right out the gate of the baby freshly coming out and just being like, all right, so is there gonna be more? Are you gonna have more? And I know even for myself, like, of course, I know that we want at least 2 children. But I realized like if you focus so much on that second child and when that second child is going to come, or I want the child to be this many years apart, or I want to make sure that they can do this together or that together. First of all, that's fantasizing and romanticizing the relationship between your 2 children because we don't know what kind of relationship they're gonna have. But also it just takes away from you being in the present moment with the first child because you're so busy trying to calculate and figure out when the next one's going to come, all the things you need to do to prepare for that. But it's like really be intentional about being present for the first one. When the time comes for you to have a second child, or when the time comes for people to announce they're having a second child, it will happen. But trying to remind yourself, no matter how many children you want, try and just be present with the first experience because you're only going to be a first time parent once. All these other ones that's going to come, that just make you a veteran in the game. So you only going to be a first time parent once. And then so that second pet peeve, I heard it was it's tingling in my tongue to bring it back up. Wait, what has been going experience with people, and I need a comment about the baby weight.
I'm like, where do I start? Because I'm also, but at first it was from like older people and then older men in the family, like making comments of like, oh girl, you got a little thick or you getting kind of big for the baby. And it's like, you're weird. And then also it's just like commenting on like, oh, like he's 2 or like, when I had a baby at this time, I was this size. And it's like, that's great. That was you.
Good for you.
Or just noticing like how my body has changed post baby compared to pre-baby. It's like, I know, I see myself every day. I try to put on the jeans I wore 5 years ago.
And they weren't quite jeaning.
Yeah,
So.
like exactly. And then also from like friends, like trying to be nice, which I get it, or they're saying like, girl, you look so good. Like, I wish I could look like you after having a baby, or like you don't even look like you had a baby. I remember I was like 4 months or 5 months post having a baby, and they were like, it don't even look like you had a baby. I'm like, damn, I'm wider than all outside. Like, yes, the hell I do look like I had a baby. I mean, I carry weight well, which is the scary part for me because I could like gain weight and it just goes in
Still,
all the right places. But for me, I'm like, nah, man, y'all can have all this. For people who want to be thick or people who want to, you know, get the BBLs or the surgery, if I could donate this and give it to you, I
I will
would.
take it off in
Like, I
places.
would here because shopping is hard when you're like pear shaped. Um, so I mean, I think most people's intentions are good. It's just people forget that moms are very vulnerable still,
Right.
especially new moms. I've never done this before. I don't have a mom, like I said. I don't have a sister. I'm an only child. So I don't know what's a normal, what's not. I just know what makes me feel a certain type of way. And when people talk about weight and like expectations or societal norms, I'm like, I don't know about all that, but I do wish I could be back to the size I was in 2018. I do wish that. And it's the reality of being able to say, like, I might not ever be that because my hips have actually physically widened from pushing a human out down there. So I don't know if that will ever change, and being able to accept this is my body now, and you know, this is how much I can tone it or perfect it and start to love it. And it's also the scary thought of like when people ask about the second baby, I'm like, I'm still getting used to this new body.
Right.
And
This
it's
body,
my
because then it'll
own,
change again.
yeah, and it's my own little, you know, mild body dysmorphia that I think all women have of just kind of like, let me get used to this first before I even think about blowing up again and having another baby. Because, like I said before, I wasn't one of those moms that was like, I miss pregnancy or I miss my stomach. Because I'm still trying to figure out what was y'all missing. Because I don't, I don't see it. I commend all moms, but yeah, no. And we used to want to have 3 kids. My husband's also only child. Now we laugh and we say we're about to be the family of only children because I don't, like you said, it'll happen. It'll happen. Right now, it's not on the
You're
agenda.
like it's not it's not on the happening. I I definitely think that people, I don't even know, like maybe it's how people grow up in their family, maybe it's the sensitivities that start there. People feel like, oh, I have tough skin, or you know, it's not really that big a deal, or I'd rather tell you instead of somebody else tell you, or I'm trying to look out for you and make sure you look good. But definitely weight is very much a sensitive topic, and I feel like actually for both people that are in the experience of becoming parents, because fathers or partners also gain a lot
Mm-hmm.
of weight, like sometimes with the person that's the birthing body because they're eating good or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and everyone's just happy and in a good phase. And then so it happens on both ends. And then so I feel like just the awareness is really important. I am a huge like person of like just weight comments period people shouldn't be having or saying unless somebody is asking for that, asking how they look, asking for support and help, wanting to get a physical trainer or something like that. But the body changes so much from the moment that you find out that you conceived. Your body begins to change, and the body may never be what it is before. And I do really wish in society that there was more appreciation for that and people not having to look a certain way. And just kind of like honoring the body is going to change, and it's
Mm-hmm.
society honored more that the body is going to change and what it looks like through all stages of after having a baby. And as you continue to get older, I think things will be a little bit easier. I'm definitely not a fan of people, just everybody's different and people don't lose their stomach weights easily.
Mm-hmm.
People don't lose any of the weight easily. Like shoot, even before we started recording, I'm like, well dang, I was going down the scale and now I'm going up the scale. I don't understand what's going on. Or like, dang, people told me breastfeeding. Listen, y'all, I am still breastfeeding my son,
Girl.
and he has turned to what we are past what the goal was. And they told me that breastfeeding was gonna, as he was sucking out, it was gonna suck in the stomach. And baby, it's not
It's
doing the
not.
sucking it was supposed to be doing. So I'm really just like, okay, there's so much advice to float around, and
Mm-hmm.
clearly all of it is not 100% gonna get you right back to where you want to be. But then even for myself, I have a little bit of fear of like, dang, like, because I came from, like, in high school, I was, like, super skinny, and I probably didn't get, like, a good chunk of weight on me until I gained, like, that freshman 15. It was more like a
Mm.
freshman 20. And then I just I just kind of held on to the weight from there, and my metabolism went down to something, but I kept eating good. But it's just like I always wanted to have a little bigger booty or a little more hips or bigger boobs. So I'm like, okay, I got that now. I just want to get rid of the stomach. But my fear is if I really start exercising, which has always been my fear, I'm probably gonna lose everything with it. So I'm just like, dang, you just can't win. You darned if you do, you darned if you don't. But it's so important for people, I feel like, to remember just the think of it this way: if you gained weight like that, would you want anybody to say anything to you? Like, would you want anybody commenting on every single change that you have in your body? Would you want anybody to point out every single thing about you, or that needs to be different, or you need to look a certain way? If you wouldn't want that to happen, then it's kind of like put yourself in the other person's position.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily needed, and it shouldn't be expected as part of the experience of people going through the postpartum. That shouldn't be something
Mhm.
that people have to continue to face. And even with, like, what you wish people like consider, because I'll say a little bit more after you, but what are some things that you feel like in advice that you felt like people should consider before actually saying particular things out of their mouths?
Like, one, they should be factual. They should just let people know. Like when you said the whole breastfeeding thing, people forgot to leave out that weight doesn't fall off until you stop breastfeeding.
So clearly there's hope for
Because
me.
yes, because I was right there with you. It's like, what's happening? Like, I think the first 2 months it kind of like fell off. Like, I don't know if you had the night sweats. Like, did you have
Hmm.
night sweats? Yeah. So I was like in my sleep, damn near swimming. I had to change my pajamas off every night in the middle of the night. So like that was also something I shared. But like, if people would have told me like, hey, breastfeeding does make the weight go down, but you actually don't really see it until you're no longer breastfeeding. Like it will just one day weight will just disappear. I don't know why it happens that way, but what I found out is like it's because you have to eat so much to produce enough
Right.
milk. So your body is actually storing, I think, like fat down. I'm not a dietitian, but like that's my own theory based off like what people have told me. And it made sense because once I stopped, weight just started to fall. Now, not all that I wanted to fall off, but a
But
big
more young
portion
probably
of
what
it.
was.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would say like advice wise, people just need to be mindful of, like you said, like more of a like humanistic approach of just like you said, like, would you want someone to say these things to you? And what are you actually asking for? Is this for your own being like inquisitive because you want to have a baby? Like maybe ask it in a different question and to gain information rather than making like a statement or a question to someone going through it. Because and a lot of times too, as new moms, like we don't really have all the answers. We figured it out just like
Yeah.
everyone else. Like no matter how many books you buy and things like that, like your baby is your baby. And it's certain things you're gonna experience that a lot of people don't. Like, I mean, people told me that, like I said, I wasn't supposed to feel the ring of fire. Definitely felt it. Um,
Felt it in all its glory.
and I had an epidural. People were like, "Oh yeah, the first couple months is so easy. Infant stage is easy because they just eat and sleep." Had a
No.
colicky baby for the first
Period. Had a
5 months.
colic baby.
Didn't There's no reason, or they just cry because they're uncomfortable. Um, had reflex allergies. Me and my husband have zero allergies. My baby is a bubble baby. Like
Hmm.
he's allergic to so many things. So it's just like advice could just be letting a new mom know, like, go with the waves, get your surfboard ready. It's gonna be a whole lot of different changes. Everybody's experience is different. Like, and try to stay as present as possible with your experience because it's always cool to like look back and look at how much you survived. Like now when I look back, I'm like, we really made it through a colicky
Hmm.
baby because
Hmm.
none of my friends had a colicky baby. So they have no
Hmm.
idea what that even looks like. And I'm like, to think to have another child and not know if it's going to come out colicky. I don't think I can,
Right.
survive another colicky baby. Like,
Right. And it's so sad to watch too. My son was colic because of digestive things, because he was premature, like late preemie, but digestive things, but just to see the pain, I didn't feel like I could do anything. I was trying all the things. He's just crying and crying and crying. I'm like, okay,
mhm.
now I'm about to cry. Like, because
Yeah.
this.
It was like a gas
what?
thing. We had to give him the gas drops and, rub his lamb on his stomach. Everyone was like, don't lay him on his stomach. I'm like, ma'am, this is the best way he sleeps. And I just lay watching him next to on his stomach and prop things so he doesn't roll over and all that stuff. But yeah, just like you were saying, like, it was tough. Reflux. So imagine having a colicky baby, digestion, you have to give them the probiotic drops, and they have reflux. So they're spitting up. It seems like by the time they finally fall asleep, they're up again because they're hungry because they didn't cry for an hour and a half. Like, yeah, I think the advice would be just letting moms know it could be challenging, and at the same time, it could feel rewarding once you get out of each phase. Like,
right. It sounds like the compassion. That probably would be my biggest thing. I think it's been disheartening for me. I'll get a little bit more into it later, just talking more about the diagnosis that I have, but I'll briefly mention now, like, I have and I had, because I'm still working through some things, but some things are better, postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. And honestly, I think the lack of compassion that I feel like I experienced was the most heartbreaking, because of the fact of like COVID really amped up the anxiety for me times 10,000 gazillion billion. And then so I think I was like hoping that people would approach it with more of like a heart because there's a baby involved. But at moments when I felt like I needed people to show up for me and be considerate and be compassionate and not give unsolicited advice, or most importantly unsolicited opinions, and be able to take just ownership in like the community of everything, people fell short of that. And then so it felt very like isolating and frustrating, from most people, for me and my husband. And it just overall sucks because, like, with COVID-19 or with postpartum anxiety and having anxiety or being an anxious person, you get a lot of helicopter mom comments. You get a lot of your son's gonna grow up this way, or anxious mom makes an anxious baby, or just like all the things that you don't necessarily need to hear, because 9 out of 10, you probably been thinking about that from the time you conceived the baby. Like, you probably know all the things you're facing, especially if you're a therapist, that you don't necessarily need people to kind of rev in you or tell you how you need to parent, or how you need to be better as a mom, or how you need to make sure that anxiety ain't going to impact the mom, or how whatever learned behavior is this, or just all of the above. Like, pet peeve down to the core of anybody offering any type of unsolicited advice, while also not being compassionate, while also trying to make me seem like I'm just not doing the best parenting that I possibly could do, or I'm not being considerate enough. And what makes it worse is I don't like to receive unsolicited advice from people that's not turning the mirror on themselves. If you've done some things where I'm like, that wasn't the right thing that you should have done as a parent, that I'm just kind of looking at you like, how dare you? Like, just kind of read me down to where you're making it seem like I just don't got a grip on things, or my poor little child is just going to grow up an anxious .com mess. Like, it's very hard to be in that space. And I think that sometimes people forget how fragile the mind state is, especially if you have those type of diagnoses, or even if you don't, how fragile the mind state is from caring for a baby, even if they are almost one. Like, every comment is not needed, whether it's upfront or it's in more of a passive way. Every advice that you think you may know is not needed. Everything does not need to be questioned if it's different from how you think the child should be raised. Something that people have to remember is nobody, unless you just a broke down mama or daddy or mama, papa in between, nobody is going to be more concerned about the child than the people that made the child. So it's the simple fact that sometimes people feel like, you're not taking good care of the child enough, or you're not considering this, or you're not considering that. It's like 90 times out of 10, we done already thought about it. We already trying to figure out all of the options. So we don't need, especially while we're learning, like you said, with you not having that many examples to thrive off of, it could be damaging to sit here and have somebody make you feel like you're not being a great mom. Like, because you're already thinking about how can I be a great mom on a daily basis. And I think people just forget that, and people have to remember every comment and every thought is not needed. Every comment, every thought is not needed. Even if I was a person that gave a comment or thought way before I had a child, I get things a lot more now that I'm in the experience. And I'm just like, it doesn't help. And I like what you said about just like encouragement. If you don't got nothing that's encouraging to say, or you're not going to help, or you're not going to spend the night, or you're not going to come over and visit, or you're not there in the day to day, or you not just go make sure that, you're being fully present and making things convenient for the parents, I just be like, you don't, like, listen, Nothing needs to be said. nothing,
Right.
nothing just needs to be said. Just keep your mouth shut. Just keep it shut, because it just makes the journey a lot more harder. And people don't realize all the parents need that moment, somebody that they can depend on in the community that's going to make the experience easier, not somebody that's going to sit there and make things worse because they think they're helping. I'm telling y'all now, public service announcement is not helpful, so cut it out.
No, it is not. And I think too, like people, I think a lot of people, women and men, or just people in general, try and paint what postpartum depression looks like, and they have no idea. It looks so different for everybody's situation. It looks different.
And men get it too.
Yeah, and it also shows up. It doesn't always show up right after you had a baby, or might be like subtle, and then you realize it way later and didn't even know you were experiencing it. Like, because I think if you just Google postpartum, it'll say like, oh, within the first like couple weeks, and that I don't think that's always the case. Because I know for myself, I didn't get diagnosed with it, but when I look back, I'm like, I think I was depressed, like. Because there were moments, and this is way after my son was born, when I just started to feel really like not myself, like super emotions just all over the place, crying, feeling like just low. And I had never experienced this before. And also being a therapist, I was like, I can't be depressed. I can't be depressed. I'm supposed to be helping people with depression. How am I acting depressed?
Right. That's a stigma in itself. That therapists clearly can't have diagnosis.
Yeah, like we can't have our own problems. We're supposed to be perfect. And it's like, so I was already judging myself. And like you said, like not really feeling like I could really reach out to certain people or just people in general, because everyone looks at like, well, you're a therapist. Didn't you know what to do? If I knew, I wouldn't be in this situation. Like, and I think that's what people also forget. Therapy doesn't necessarily work on ourselves. Like that's why you can't go to a therapist that's your friend or a family member, because it doesn't work. It has to be a non-biased person. And I think just acknowledging it comes in different phases, it comes in waves, and not feeling judgmental on yourself, and just being brave enough to say, I think I need some help, and overcoming that of just asking for help. And I think eventually I messaged my OBGYN, and I was like, I think something's off. I was like, I am crying at commercials I shouldn't be crying at, like, and just not feeling myself. And I was like, I seen these commercials for like flow vitamins, the little pink bottle thing, and I was like, is this can I try these? Because it's supposed to, like, the thing for those is like balances your hormones, and also for PMS type stuff, and it also clears your skin. And that was another thing. I had beautiful skin while I was pregnant with my son. My skin was the best it had ever. It was spinning, okay? It was bomb. I don't know what happened. Like 2 months after, I felt like I was back in high school.
It said, girl, you thought.
It was so bad. And so I had like that already. I was like, I felt ugly. I just had all this hyperpigmentation, all these little bumps everywhere, because all the hormones were like coming out. So I asked her, and I was like, please make sure check is this healthy for me, because I was still was I breastfeeding? I think I was done breastfeeding by then, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to affect my IUD, because that's what we wasn't about to do. So she double checked. She was like, it's safe. Those pills, I'd say to everybody, I don't want to say they saved my life, because I wasn't that depressed or that low, but they worked. Helped. Yes. And then I felt normal. I was taking every day. Skin was back on track.
Good.
But yeah, it came later, and I don't think a lot of people realize, like, it could come late and look very different. It could look very functional too, but you're just not yourself.
And it doesn't just last to the first birthday. People, I know that something that was very helpful was when I really realized certain things I was going through, whether it be postpartum depression or anxiety, as well as like, breastfeeding challenges, because that's a whole nother thing that I'll talk about in a second. But reaching out to community, I really was trying to look for support. I went through therapy myself. I started being on like Facebook community groups. I was searching for people within my like circle. And luckily, even if some of my friends couldn't relate, like they'd be like, but I had a friend that can relate and did go through this. And maybe you could talk to, I was talking to people all over America just from being connected from inner circles, because I was like, I can't do this by myself. Like, and I had like my husband, but of course he was going through differences and challenges too, because it's hard for him to figure out like, well, I'm having my own experience of how to be a first-time dad, but my wife is triggering me because she got postpartum anxiety and depression, and I don't really know what to do myself. So it's just like I had to find other people that I can kind of like be able to process and rely on. And I definitely feel like, the some of the bigger challenges of that is, like you said, it can look very different. I know for me with the anxiety, the what is it called? Trigger warning SIDS. That was a big thing for me. To
Mm.
where I'm just now kind of getting a good grip on it. Even now, I would still catch myself looking at my son to make sure he's breathing. But I'm like knowing that he's out of the SID stage and he could roll
Mhm.
all over the bed and should be completely fine. And sometimes I have to tell myself, oh, he's fine. But like, having a little baby and having anxiety, I always was just like, listen, our child has been, he's a contact baby. So he's been sleeping on us with us or whatever. We didn't have we could sit our baby down in the bassinet crib and he just fine. No, he has to feel one of our touches since day one in order to be able to go to sleep. So it was the sweetest thing and it was the best thing for him and for us to get sleep, but it also sometimes felt like the most dangerous thing. So
Mhm.
then that created, like, now I had insomnia. Like, and I'm getting over insomnia from staying up past the times when it was my shift to go to sleep because I just had so much intense fear that he was gonna like roll off the bed, or he's gonna like roll off the couch, or he's gonna roll on his face and he can't breathe, or he's gonna get suffocated in one of us from us not being able to pay attention. So it like created like a big just tornado of just like thoughts of like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure he's breathing at all times. And then that triggers OCD symptoms of consistently checking things, consistently having to like make sure, is he okay? The pacing, the constant thinking. And then on top of that, the COVID anxiety and not wanting him to get COVID, just supposed to get COVID, long story short, but to not want him to get COVID. That's been a whole reason why I'm comfortable just now being able to like go back into the community and start to like let our hair down just a little bit and bring more people in, because people, when I tell you, this is what I'm talking about consideration. My biggest thing, because I'm not even going to give examples of what people did, but my biggest thing, I had some really great supportive people, a very, very, very few that I could count on probably less than one hand. And then some people I just felt like gave me the most difficult time around my COVID precautions and the baby.
Mm.
And it just was horrible. When I just feel like if you really care about us and you really love us, you shouldn't question anything. Just show up if you truly want to be there. Show up how we need you to show up in whatever mental capacity state that we're in. Don't make me feel like I'm overreacting, I'm paranoid, I'm this, the CDC said this. I don't care about the CDC. The CDC didn't push out this baby. Like, just all all this stuff. Like, I really wanted to be just met with, if you want to come here, you can come, but don't give me the catch-22 on what I'm saying needs to happen in order for it to be a safe experience, because people weren't really understanding. I was struggling very horribly mentally and not recognizing the depressive. And it's like you would tell people, but sometimes I feel like when you tell people your challenges, they still don't get it. Like, they don't understand just how deep it is, because even the anxiety is one thing. Then I had the depression thing, which I'm getting better at, and I thought that it was gone, and then I still see it kind of peeking up. But for me, even the depression was like the worth of a mother, and being like, do they need me? They're probably fine without me. All I'm providing is breast booby milk, like the milky, as I call it. All I'm good for is this. And then for me, in all honesty, it triggers suicidal ideation. Like, if I felt like, oh, well, my anxiety or depression is causing my husband to feel horrible, or it's taking his happiness because it's hard for him to deal with it, and it's making him feel depressed or something, and then my poor baby, he don't need to go through this either, then I was just like, I might as well just not be here, honestly, because I'm literally making the situation worse and I can't get it together, and they'll be completely fine without me. And I don't think, I feel like I would say it to certain people, but again, it will land flat. Nobody really knows what to say, which is why it's so important for people to find the spaces to talk to people that know what to say. Because if you're just saying it to people and it's landing flat, you can continue to feel isolated. So the therapy is important, the support groups is important, finding people that could be like, heck yeah, I felt that 100% of the time. Like, you're not losing your mind. Like, this is real stuff that you're dealing with, because that gets really, really scary.
Yeah, no, 100% valid, because no, it's, and I want to reiterate that too. Is like being okay with like, yeah, what you experience is what you experience. Nobody else was there. Nobody else was in your skin experience it, and so that's what it was. Yeah, just all of that. I was just thinking about my son. We put him in the bassinet like he never has slept with us, But that same fear of like, I remember always checking over the side of the bed to the bassinet, like, because he naturally he always would roll over on his own. Like, so we had to what they call swallow him with his hands out, so it would stop him. But he would just roll. He like from the moment we came home, he rolled to his left side or whatever, and then because he had a preferred side to sleep, then it became a problem because then his head was not molding the way it was supposed to. Yes, and then it was the stress of about to almost have to give him a helmet, and then doing all that and having to we did a lot of stuff at home to where it worked. He didn't have to get the helmet because I was like, oh no, I don't want my baby to have to wear a helmet, even though if he did, it would just you would have to. But I think it's just people. A lot of times people saying, well, when I was pregnant, exactly, past tense.
When you was
back then. Like, and then okay with moms like understanding and just saying like that. I remember I joined a lot of those what is it, breastfeeding things, like black moms or black breastfeeding moms on Facebook.
Breastfeeding, let's get into that.
It was I think I mentioned like one of my, I don't know if I did in the last episode, one of my nipples are inverted. It's all just called, like, naturally it's always been that way. So I had one good boob, and then naturally this one, we figured it out. And luckily I was blessed to have like the lactation specialist was like very helpful while I was in the hospital. So like she helped give me some tricks, but breastfeeding itself is challenging, especially when you have a baby that is colicky and has reflux and digestive issues because the milk lets down too fast. That's another thing you got to figure out. Then you got to buy the bottles that aren't too fast, like spilling out. And, that was a thing. And I remember sometimes that those groups were helpful, but then sometimes they were kind of toxic because it would be like moms on there saying like, well, your baby shouldn't be drinking this much milk. He's only this age. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't know my baby. He big, like, and he's a big 2-year-old too. Like, he's very tall. He's like 3.5 feet tall. He's 2. So like, I remember at one point he was drinking like 5 ounces of milk, and it was like hard to keep up for me. I wasn't one of those moms that like produced heck of milk to freeze. I never was able to do that. I would produce just enough to make it through the day, like, and then make it the next day. And I have a best friend. She still got freezers full of milk at friends' homes, like multiple freezers. Full of milk. Like she got engorged multiple times because she just produced so much milk. And I was like, well, that wasn't me. Like, and so I don't think even people normalize how hard it is to breastfeed. And like some moms aren't able to. And then like goes back to society saying, baby number 2, at that time, we didn't even have formula. Like we still don't have formula. I go to the stores now, look, my baby, I mean, he doesn't drink milk, he's allergic to it anyways, but I remember the other day I went down, just happened to go get diapers, and I walked past the formula thing. Do you know that aisle's still empty?
Yeah.
It just is no longer in the news.
Which caused a lot of anxiety for a lot of moms.
For me as well. Look, because my child was like, it was on the tail end. He was about to turn 1. So luckily we were, the day after his first birthday, he was on milk because I was like, I'm tired of buying formula. But yeah, I could not imagine being a mom with a younger baby. Needed formula. Like I had to put my son on formula when he was 6 months because I went back to work and I just couldn't keep up with the pumping, and then my milk just dried up. Like one night
it said job well done and we're out.
I don't know if that happened for you. One night
the milk is still milking. The milk is still milking to where I'm like, listen, we need to figure out an exit plan emotionally and physically, because last night I got chomped on to where I don't know. I think he was frustrated that I said we're done with the milk, and he bit me, and he kept like the teeth. I felt like my soul was about to leave my body, and I was like, he's never bit me this hard before. Please get away. Like I have to remind, this is my child. Like, but please get away. Like I couldn't even get him. Like I was trying to stick my finger to like try, but he just kept, and I was like, I think this might be the end for me. I think my soul is about to, and what's going to be left is my nipple. That's all that's going to be left of me because I can't do this. So after that, I'm like questioning, and then I look at him and he's so sweet, and I'm like,
does he laugh after he does it?
He would. Now he just looks concerned, like I think I messed up. But in the beginning, he thought it was a game, and I was like, this is not a game. I know that we play, and I know that we joke all day, but this is not a game. I need you to stop.
I was
now.
trying to be those moms that breastfeed a little past 1 just for, like, health reasons, I guess, or whatever. It did not happen because my son bit me 1 time, and luckily he was at that 6-month mark, and it was, like, 1 time, and he looked and he did one of, like, I was like, "Oh, no," like, I almost forgot he was 6 months old because I was about to "Bro, like, you about to get decked." Like, it was so painful. But
Yes.
one night my milk just I didn't produce enough milk one night, and it was during quarantine and lockdown, like, where we had, like, a curfew, and he had never had formula before. I had no milk, and I was, like, crying because he was
Yeah.
crying because he was hungry. My all the stores were closed, so we couldn't even go try and get formula to try it out. Like, I had to, like, rock my baby to sleep hungry, and I was so
Yeah.
sad and was like, "How happening?" Like, first thing, Target will open at 8 a.m. I was like, "We're gonna get formula." And that from that
Hmm.
moment on, he transitioned to
You're
formula.
like
I was like,
formula? Nah.
"I can't do this again." Like, it was just scary, and I was like, "I no, you just have to do formula. My body's done. It's not making any more enough milk to sustain you."
Yeah, it is a scary thing, especially even for the babies that were on like particular. I know like your son has different allergy things, so some babies like are on particular things, and it seemed like those are even more harder to find because they
Mhm.
were special kind of formulas. But I definitely feel like first of all, kudos and clapping up to every mother that breastfeeds because I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but also like, a lot of people could only last so long. So I know a lot of people in my community and my close family, they could only help me so much, but not really because they didn't really know what to do. And then I
Mhm.
have a sister that did it for like a year, but she lives in another state.
Mhm.
And then so she couldn't be here physically to like help. So I had to again go into my friend circle. And I know I had a friend, you know who you are, where she came over and literally had to massage my boobs because I think I was getting engorged. And I
Mm.
think what they don't tell you, like the lactation, I went to so many lactation appointments, but I was like, y'all not helping me. Y'all just helping me with the latching, but you're not really understanding that I was in excruciating pain to where I'm
Mhm.
still like, I'm like, it was by God's grace that I'm still breastfeeding the child to this day. But I was in so much pain and she was like, you're clogged. Like you're not like it wasn't clogged where clumps are coming out, but it's like I would plump and then it would like I would get full right over again, like just
Mhm.
that quickly. And then so what one of my other close friends, you know who you are, is she had told me about I think it was like my pretty pump or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but nobody never told me, not even a lactation consultant, that as you go through the journey, the size of like your flanglings that you pump through has to change. So
Mhm.
lots of times they start you on like a 27 millimeter, but that may not even be how big you are. So it's
Mhm.
like you can feel more pain or you can like get more engorgement, or you can kind of mess up your milk supply, not knowing that it needs to be remeasured throughout the
Mhm.
process. So I ended up getting like this little measuring tool so that I can measure myself and change myself when I felt like I needed to be like something wasn't going right and that I needed to be able to get more milk out or it was causing me too much pain. And that helped a lot. But it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, you know, you're still learning. It's still a learning curve. And then so there still was a lot of pain. And I was doing the pumping, the breastfeeding, and then eventually when I had too much anxiety, because I was able to have, I still have some a little bit in the freezer, but I liked it to see that there was some extra because if it wasn't, that gave me anxiety and thinking that he wasn't gonna have anything to eat because there was formula shortage. So the
Mhm.
moment that I felt like I wasn't producing enough to have extra on deck in the refrigerator and in the freezer, then I was just like, and I didn't want to touch the freezer stash because I never knew, it was like this whole fear. I never knew when the milk was going to run out. And I needed to
Mhm.
always have some type of milk. And then so I ended up introducing him to formula at 6 months and I started doing the half and half because that made me kind of decrease the anxiety about that. But
Mhm.
then I was juggling pumping, breastfeeding him for myself, formula, and trying to introduce him to food. And then so even at a certain time, my daddy was like, don't you think you're doing too much? But I was just like, I don't really know what else to do. I'm just going with what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And it's kind of driven by anxiety and I want him to be
Mhm.
well, but I don't really even know how to stop either because of lack of being informed of how do you
Mhm.
actually juggle all of this stuff. So I definitely feel like, of course, now he's like a little bit on breast milk because we attached, and then he is on like we're still trying to figure out what kind of milk right now. He's on like Ripple Kids because he's growing up
Mhm.
pescatarian right now, so he needs all his vitamins, and then he just eat he got an appetite, okay? So I feel like he's eating like a teenage boy or something like that right now, but he has an appetite. And then so, but I'm like that challenging like struggle of just like the community. And I feel like even as Black moms, we don't have a lot of times like resources or access to resources, or people of color in general. And then so a lot of times I found out people gave up when they probably could have breastfed longer if they just had a little bit more knowledge and support, but they gave up in the beginning because it hurt too much and they just know it shouldn't be hurting like this, so why would I keep going? And then so my hope is that over time, you know, more access to even wherever you go for the hospital and they're supposed to be helping you, more access to people knowing more of like what to do beyond just getting the baby to latch, like more beyond like how to do that. Because I was like, listen, that waking up every 2 hours lifestyle,
Girl,
that was doing nothing for the depression. That was
girl,
doing
that, and
nothing
I
but
don't know if
just
you made I don't know if you made the lactation cookies. I was in there Sarah Leeing it up.
like I
I was
tried oat milk.
making I was making oat milk cookies. Then this was the problem. The cookies were so good. I was just eating them because they was good.
Right.
Whether they was
You
making
like
them or
forget a
not,
lactation.
they were so good. Like to this day, I will still bust open like the ones at Target they sell are good. But then I had like a homemade recipe I was making with the whole what's the powder yeast or whatever. I was putting all that, you know, chocolate. It was chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. Fire. Like
right.
I was just my husband started, and I was like, you know, that's lactation cookies. And he was like, what?
Like, well. And
I don't think they know, like, there's not a lot out there. So for me, I was in there science experimenting up, trying to figure out how to make more milk. And then I was eating too many cookies and was just holding on to the weight. And then I was like, okay, I gotta stop eating the cookies. Like
it was like, we here, we gonna make it fun. We gonna make it saucy with these cookies and milk. And I mean,
and then did they tell you, how was it for you trying to figure out when you were introducing your son to foods? Like, what were you kind of like prepared for, or like, I'm imagining there's some anxiety around that, especially introducing to like peanut butter and those things. Like, I don't know what that process was like for y'all.
We just took things slow, and I always knew that I was going to puree a lot of things because I didn't want to give him like canned like pureed things. So I like steamed and like was just blending up different things. And just being very clear, I think even about people that's watching him of like, some people have tested me a little bit, but like, don't give him certain things. Like, I'm serious about that. The biggest thing for me has been like him not eating like chicken, and because I'm a pescatarian. And so we hadn't really put him on the chickens, the turkeys, the beefs, anything like that. He eats seafood, but we hadn't put him on anything like that. And we didn't want to be forced or pushed to have to do it, because everybody will always say, well, you got to do, you don't have to do. There's so many kids in this world that can't actually eat it. So what do? Shrivel up. Like they find a way. So it's like trying to just make sure that that's clear and that everybody on the team understands that. And like the pediatrician we had in the beginning was very just loose flowing. Like she was loose flowing, so she didn't really give us no like apprehensions or things we should be like cautious about. It was just like, oh, feed him this because I fed my baby this when he was 6 months, like type of thing. So we kind of just went with what we felt was right, and kind of like knowing what some of our fears and concerns was, and not wanting him to like choke, or because we don't really have CPR certifications. Like my husband took it before, but you know, he's not really brushed up with it. But like, you know, I've had experience where I gave him food that was a little too hot. I cried when he cried because the facial expression, and I knew the agony. I know what it's like to burn my tongue. So I just felt like I did him a huge disservice, and I burst into tears. And I remember I was on a FaceTime with my sister. My husband's over there, and I just burst into tears. And they were like, "It's okay, he's gonna be fine." But I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like, of course, he redeemed himself and went back to eating. And I'm sitting there just boo-hooing, or like, you know, trying to, like, the other day he ate too much pancake, and he was like, "Well," and I'm like, "Well, they told us like if they're not making noise, that's when you need to be concerned. If they are making noise, they're fine. They're just hacking it out. It's teaching them." I don't think that we ever got onto the steez of like self feeding, like, you know, just putting whatever we eat just out in front of the baby from a young age, because we had too much fear that he would choke and that, you know, we wouldn't really know what to do. So we just pureed until probably the last like 2 or 3 months, where we really started to kick things into gear. And like in this last month, since he's been one in this last month, now we just feed him basically what we're eating. But before that, we tried to like ease our way up just a little bit, or make things a little bit chunkier, make things a little bit, see how he's doing with this or that, try to listen to what it is that he wants to eat or not. But it's still a huge learning curve because he changes by the week. He was liking certain things. Now he don't like it. And he's very expressive. He's a tourist baby. So at this point, you could put something in his mouth and you could put like, say you put a noodle and a broccoli together, but he wanted the noodle but didn't want the broccoli. He'll like stick out his tongue and like try to separate it so that only the broccoli falls out, but then he keeps the noodle in his mouth. Like he knows what he wants and what he does not want. And if he don't, and if he can't get it out quick enough, he's gonna check it behind him. Like I don't want this. And then so we kind of are just kind of like going and flowing with him because he's changing literally every single week with what he wants to eat. And it's some days like the other day, I was like, my boy, you got us out here in Olive Garden looking like we ain't fed you nothing before because you sitting here chomping on this bread like we just raised you up in kitchen times or something. Like he only wanted to eat bread. He wanted Hawaiian bread and he wanted the bread rolls from Olive Garden. And then so he was chomping down and not chewing. And I'm like, calm down, my God, calm down. And we couldn't get him to eat nothing else. All he wanted was bread. And I'm like, he probably is going to pay for this later, but I'm not going to fight him on it. At least he's eating something. Like, what can I do? He doesn't really understand yet, like self-control of like, you bite, then you swallow, and then you move on to the next thing. So if we let him feed, we really got to give him one little piece at a time because he just blah, 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 and he doesn't and he starts to choke because he's just stuffing it all in his mouth and thinking he could swallow it, and he doesn't understand that's not how you eat yet. So we've just been trying to take little steps. How is it for you? Because I know, like you mentioned, your son has allergies and different things.
Yeah, we had the baby bullet, so I blended all of his foods. I never bought no, none of that. As he got older, like when he was already 1 and he started eating me out of house and home, I
like a teenage boy.
Yes, I started like buying. There's those little pre-made packs things that you can get at Target. Like we would buy the Cerebral brand because it had like very simple ingredients, and then I stopped that too because then I saw a research of like you don't know how long those things have been sitting in those packs and like if there's mold in it. So I just stopped that and we just cut that out all completely.
Yeah.
But we did like when he was younger, we didn't notice any food allergies besides like blueberries and citrus fruits. Like he would get little rash on his face, and so we like, oh, cut those out. And then like as he was like a little past 1, we noticed like his eczema on his face was just flaring, and it just got really bad. And we were like, all right, you need an allergy test, because the pediatrician at first was like, oh, he might grow out of it and things like that, but we were like, no, like we want to get him tested because I think this is food induced. Like I think he's allergic to foods that's causing oh wait, you froze.
Oh,
there you go. That's causing his eczema or whatever to flare up. And so we got the allergy test done. The most traumatic thing ever. Because we did the blood test because the little skin one, you can't, he was like,
yeah, it's hard to, I've done that.
He wasn't 2 yet. So yeah, so it was just like, nah. We did the blood test. Oh my God, you would have thought we were murdering him. And everyone else around there, like, he did so good. But he came back and he's allergic to, so this is for all the moms who got little babies who are allergic to everything. He's allergic to dairy, wheat, gluten, eggs, salmon, grass, dogs, cats, tomatoes, olives. Those are the things that he's actually something else. Oh, peanuts. He's highly allergic to peanuts and tree nuts. So we have an EpiPen for that, which is weird because we gave him peanut butter when he was a baby and nothing happened. So I don't know about that, but we just don't do any of that. And then he's also histamine intolerant. So I have to look that up. So then he can have like cinnamon, no seasonings, no pre-made seasonings, only a little bit of like beans, no dairy, no citrus fruits. So he basically only eats, which is good for me, the cheaper fruits. So like apples, grapes, pears, like the fruits that's really cheap. So I'm happy about that, like watermelon. But like no breads. We buy gluten-free tortillas. And then I have to really read the labels because stuff that'll say it's gluten-free still has dairy and egg in it.
Yeah.
Or soy. He's allergic to soy too. So I have to like really read stuff. So a lot of our foods comes from like Trader Joe's. Not that much because Trader Joe's has a lot of soy in a lot of products. But like he's also has to eat fresh meats, like, and then I have to freeze them because frozen meats are high in histamine, apparently, whatever.
Oh,
it interesting. It flares
I didn't even know that.
The thing. Oh, and then I also found out he's allergic to fish. So the salmon allergy was weird because I was like, I've never heard of someone being allergic to salmon. one night I was making fried catfish. I swear he had had catfish before, but maybe I didn't pay attention to what the signs of the allergy looked like. So it was just me and him at home one night. I gave him some fried catfish, and I'm like sitting, I'm thinking he's like stuffing his face because I hear him like choking and coughing, and I'm like, "Hi, stop stuffing your face or whatever." I'm look, he seems fine, and then he comes with me. There's no food in his mouth, and I'm just like, "What the heck is happening?" He's like, like coughing, and I'm like, "Oh my god,
Aww.
you're allergic to catfish." So I like hurry up and grab the Benadryl, give him Benadryl, it calms down, whatever. So then I Google like something about salmon allergies, and it said people who are allergic to salmon are more than likely allergic to finned fish. I was like, don't all fish have fins? Like,
Right.
so I was like, okay. So he's allergic to all fish and shellfish. So he can't have, I don't know about crab. I've never given him crab, but he can't have
Mm-hmm.
like shrimp. Shrimp is like, so I looked at his test scores. The shrimp is like a lower percentage, but that's why sometimes he would have shrimp and he would get, um,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so I think also normalizing for people that you don't know what you're about to get. He also eats a lot, which our groceries are very expensive because we have to buy gluten-free, very
Mm-hmm.
organic foods, and like certain
Mm-hmm.
places don't sell the foods he can eat. We also don't eat a lot of red meat. We used to be pescatarians, but it gets too expensive, so
Mm-hmm.
I have to make double meals. So like I'll make what my son can eat, and then I'll make something different for me and my
Right.
husband. He will get bored eating what my son can eat
Mm-hmm.
because he could only eat plain pasta,
Right.
and we'll have to use animal fat to cook with or grapeseed oil. Like I can't do the
Mm-hmm.
vegan butters because the vegan butters still have avocado oil and olive oil in it. He's allergic to both of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the animal fat, like beef tallow and like duck tallow, is like $15 a jar.
I didn't even know that exists.
You have to get it
So,
from like an actual grocery store. Girl, I be in the grocery store stressed, like sitting
mm-hmm.
there doing all types of multiplication and adding in my head. Like, if I I might save $5 here. Like,
Right.
like it's very expensive. So yeah, and like you said, like some people, that's also why we don't let him stay with a lot of people. Only my mother-in-law,
Yeah, because
because people
everybody
don't
may not be
know.
able to keep up with it, and some people might be like,
Yeah,
"Over time, he'll be all right."
and people don't read labels. Like even my mother, she's
Mm-hmm.
finally getting used to like you have to read the label. Just because it says egg free doesn't mean it's gluten free. Just
It's
because it's
egg.
gluten free
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's
Mm-hmm.
egg or dairy free. Because she would come over with pork skins, and I'm like, ma'am, he can eat
Yeah.
plain pork skins, but he can't eat the ones that have like barbecue flavor because it has soy
Yeah.
on it or like wheat coating on it. Or
Mm-hmm.
like she would be like, oh, he can't just go. We can't go buy any fried chicken from anywhere because they use regular flour. So I have
Yeah.
to cook his food in gluten free flour, and so snacks, no processed foods, and we wasn't giving him that anyways. And we also don't
Mm-hmm.
give our son any store bought juice. He only drinks juice if I juice it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just nothing but sugar and the stuff in the store. So he actually
Mm-hmm.
drinks water 99% of the
Percent.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one half a percent is like 100% apple juice, and I'll look at the label to make sure it's 100% apple juice. Or yeah, that's it. He actually doesn't drink anything else. And
Yeah.
then I'm fine with it. He'll come and he'll be like, water, water. And,
Oh, yeah.
he loves water. I'm like, thank you. This is great. And people be like, oh, let him try this, let him try this. No, like,
Yeah.
no.
There
If you
isn't
know
really
better,
much
you
space
do
to
better.
try.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah. And even if he didn't have these allergies, we weren't going to feed him junk. Like, we don't really eat junk. We don't eat fast food like that. We do is In-N-Out or Shake Shack here and there. But like you said, our son, he's a carb lover too. Like any potato, anything potato, that is his
He
thing.
gonna
He
tear it
about
up.
to pair up some potatoes, French fries, baked potato, mashed potatoes, breakfast potatoes. Potato is his thing. Um, yeah, and he just eats. They get to an age where they just graze all day long, like
Right.
little cows. They just nibble and dabble, and I'm just like, bro, you just ate like an hour ago. Like,
Yeah,
so.
and I think one thing that you point out is like just the respect of not everyone saying let this baby try this or let this baby do this when the reality is, again, the parents have already thought about it. So if they're
Mhm.
saying no right now, it's like don't try to pressure people into, well, they should eat this, or they should do that, or you should consider, or I need to make sure that you considered this or didn't know. Like just stop giving parents a hard
Mhm.
time. Just stop doing it, because 9 times out of 10, what people's thoughts may be right. sometimes, but it may not be right for this situation. And then so it's very important, I just feel like, for people to consider that. And if a parent says no to something, just let it be that. And I know we've talked about husbands a lot, and I am curious, just shifting gears a little bit, about, like, how has becoming a mother impacted your marriage, as well as just, like, what support do you feel like you did or did not receive, even from your partner, or how you hoped things might have would have turned out, or what were some good things that did happen in that first year of postpartum.
I feel like well, I won't say I looked up, because I knew he would be a really good dad, because he's really good with kids. So he was super supportive. He still is. He watches our son weekdays all day long, because he works from home, and while I go into office every day. So he gets all the time, and sometimes I used to feel a little, like, not jealous, but feel like, dang, like, I see my son like 2 hours a day, because by the time I get home, it's like I don't get to see him that much. It shifted things a lot, in a sense. Like, prior to being parents, we used to always hang out. Like, we would go to the movies every week. Like, we would go on the, like, little discount days, because no one's in there. You get to enjoy the movie, plus it's cheap. So we would see all the movies every week. Or we would just do whatever. We travel freely. We would chill, it was easier keeping the house clean. He didn't have to help as much before, like, because I'm try to keep things pretty clean. So I didn't need his help. But once we had our son, he had to help out some more. And I think that was a little challenging for both of us. Like, me just asking or reminding him to do certain things used to, like, irritate me sometimes. I used to be like, you see this trash, like, pick it up. Like, or like, like, I don't know, like, because, like, it would be like, before, I wouldn't have to remind him to take the trash, but it's just the hustle and bustle of just being a dad, like, taking care of a baby. It's just like, you forget, you don't realize, like, the trash needs to be taken out, or like certain things to be done, like certain house chores or just household things. Like, even like now, like, we have our front yard and our backyard looks atrocious, in a sense, because that rainstorm we had just sprouted all these weeds, and we got weeds everywhere. It's just all over. So just trying to find the energy to say, like, hey, babe, like, when do you think you can do the yard? Like, and it's like, he opened the window, and I feel him, because he like, bruh, I don't want to do it. Like, it's just a lot. I would say it just, like, shifted being able to communicate with each other, and being, like, open to communication and feedback, and recognizing when we're overstimulated.
Yeah.
So, and I think in giving your partner space, like, since he's home all day with our son through the weekday, I've had to, and then this kind of happened natural, but I had to be okay with, like, him leaving to go hang with friends, like, in the evening, just to get out the house, like, just to, like, have space to decompress. And there are some times where I would feel like, dang, like, I feel like I don't see you that much, because I work, and then I have my practice, and then you're here all day. I get it, you need to get out. And then, like, I work so much, and I need to go hang with my friends. So it started to feel like we didn't hang with each other that much. And we had to make it a point to be like, we can't let our son come before us. Like, that's just not how the hierarchy goes, right?
Yeah.
Like, we had to, like, keep God first, and then us partners, and then our son. And it's okay for us to just really ask for help. And that's when we kind of started to ask my mother-in-law to, like, hey, can you watch him for a few hours or something? Because we need to go do something, or, like, we need to go take a quick trip. And now it's shifting even more, like, with birthdays coming up. Our son is older. My mother-in-law's getting older. My son is little curious George. So it's also realizing, like, she might not be able to watch him, because he's just too active, and it's too much draining of energy. So now it looks like, all right, the birthday turn-up is going to look different. Their trips, we might have to take him with us, and that's what it look like, because we've never been the couple that said, oh, we're not going to travel just because we have a kid. Like,
yeah,
we haven't taken him internationally yet, because he was so little, and we were still newlyweds. I mean, we're still newlyweds in a sense, but, like, we wanted that time away and did, like, quick 3-day trips. But now we're like, he about to come with us, so we
this is about to be our little best friend in the bag.
Yeah, and, like, he's been to, like, SoCal with us a few times on the airplane, and it was cool. But now we're like, all right, the only fear now is eating at resorts since he has so
Yeah.
many allergies. It's just, I just told my husband the other day, I was like, I'm just gonna have to call the resort ahead of time and ask like what
Yeah.
oil do y'all cook with? Because that's the main thing. Like everything else, he can eat a vegetable or steamed meat. It's the oil. Like as long as y'all not cooking in peanut oil, we good. Like
Yeah.
um, but I would just say the communication, intimacy kind of shifts.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize that until that you're in it. Like it's like, yeah, you want to be into your partner, but y'all try to have a little date night at home or whatever, and you wake up, it's 3 o'clock in the morning on the couch.
Literally.
Like
We have plans, but now I'm tired. So do we keep with those plans or do we just try to catch up on sleep? Like,
yeah, and it like
what
feels
are our
cheesy.
plans?
It feels cheesy thinking like, oh, you have to like plan intimacy, but like sometimes that's like
No,
real. Like you have to
no,
really
for real.
put the effort or like literally drink some coffee at 6 o'clock to be like, okay, I don't want to fall asleep. Like we'll plan to like wear my son out to put him to sleep by a certain time so we can have our
Yeah.
own alone time. And it's like
Yeah.
even then it's like I gotta take an energy drink because
It's
even though if
tired.
I put him to
Hustle
sleep
and
at
bustle
eight
of the
thirty, I'm
day.
gonna be tired. Yeah. So I don't know if it was similar for y'all or like
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, for us, like, we I have the grand idea, which I do not regret at all. I think it was the most beautiful grand idea, but I also realized on the back end of it, I'm like, oh, maybe we could have waited a year. We always say we wonder what it would have been like if we would have just been married for a year and then had a kid. Granted, we love our little baby boo. He's the greatest joy of our life, but we also are like, oh, we probably really needed that year because I've known my husband since I was like 14, but we didn't start dating until literally the pandemic. So in the brink of the pandemic, that's when we decided, like, I was like, listen, I'm about to shoot my shot, little baby. You gonna die. You got a couple of days to think about it, and then this is what we're gonna do, or this is not what we're gonna do. And then so we dated throughout the pandemic. So that was a thing. Dating during the pandemic is hard because nobody was supposed to be seeing each other. And then I ended up getting pregnant. So we've been married for almost basically a year and a half. And we've been together for about 3. Is that right? Time is a blur at this point. But we also been a parent for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I was pregnant and we were already engaged, and then I decided I wanted to get married, not necessarily before the baby, but it was like in the pandemic, you don't know what the future holds. Like, it was just so many things that were in my
Mm-hmm.
mind that I was like, let's just do it now. Like, why would we sit here and continue to wait? It just didn't make sense to me. So it's like, getting married in January and becoming parents in May, like it didn't really give a lot of time for the newlywed, like just me and you all cuddle woozy woozy type of thing. So I feel like now it's like our whole life revolves around our son, and we're trying to get back to floating to the surface and like trying to get some type of individuality again, figuring out who we are and who we've grown to be as a husband and wife, as well as a mom and a dad. It's like juggling two big, very big life changes at the same time, which hasn't been easy. Um, and so I definitely feel like we don't get a lot of time for intimacy. We are fortunate to have family members that have been watching him, hearing that there's a few of them, like my mom and my sister are 2 people for sure that, especially my mom, that's helped a lot since he was born. And my sister has been like a second heavy hitter since he was born. And like, my dad helping out here and there. And then my husband's mom, every once in a while, could do some things. And like I said, we're just now going out into the community and trying to ask more for help. But like, we've been fortunate to have dates, but it's just very different. And sometimes it can feel like not enough. Or like we've gotten into the habit of when I would pump, I'll be on one side of the couch and he'll be on the other side because I had all this stuff and he'd be holding the baby, to where we still sit very far apart when we're watching a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much has just like changed. We don't always sleep in the same room together because we're still trying to transition my son into the crib or whatever. So we don't really
Mm-hmm.
sleep too much together. Like it's just a whole transition. And like, people always be like, we need to take our time to make sure, we need to make sure that, and it's like, we know that, again, another example of, don't you think we thought about
Right.
it? So it's just doing it in real time. The reality, it's hard and it's difficult, and so many other things have to be done that everything sometimes just kind of like falls to the wayside. So we're
Mm-hmm.
hoping that as he continues to get more streamlined with his sleep schedule and sleeping a little bit earlier, and then I know eventually he has to go to daycare, like that lets up more time for us to be together as a husband and wife, because we're still very freshly married. And then
Mm-hmm.
also figuring out how we're shaping just as humans and individuals, and being able to find our separate space and separate time, because we haven't really hung with friends much, since we've had the baby. And then so that has been something that's been really important. And I feel like even for myself, like a huge thing, like I realized later on, or a couple of months ago, that what I wanted or needed from my husband, because my husband is phenomenal. Listen, I be sitting here like, God, you know, I was not making the right decision with these men's in my past. So you was looking out for your girl when you brought this friend back around, because your girl was making some trifling decisions. But I'm just like, I have the most perfect partner I could have ever imagined for myself. And I'm so grateful, because I'm a huge believer of who you marry and who you have kids with, that can change the course of your life. Like, that's some real heavy duty stuff that I don't think people actually take true heed to. But literally, who you have baby with and who you marry, that impacts your life for quite some time, for the rest of it. And then so I'm very fortunate that it is, you know, my husband, because he does just such a phenomenal job, and he's a caretaker by nature. So he just a caregiver, caretaker. He's just amazing. And then so I'm very fortunate and happy about that. But I did realize that because I was going through the anxiety and the depression, I was expecting for him to probably be very understanding, even when he was being triggered, or even when I was making him, because of anxiety, making him feel like maybe he wasn't being a great father or whatever. So I was expecting him to hold and show up in all these ways that he didn't have the skills to be equipped for. And then I would get upset about it, because I'm like, you don't understand, I'm tired. Like, I need sleep. Like, I birthed the baby and I haven't had sleep. Like, sleep was a big argument every single time, because I felt like I deserved more sleep than him. But he's like, but I'm struggling on my wits end too. Like, I need sleep. And then so it's like, I was expecting something for him that I had to come around to being like, he can't give this to you, because he also is trying to figure out all the new things just like you are. And so I do wish that, like, he would have probably took my advice early on, like, go to therapy, because I kept saying, can you just go to therapy so that you can figure out ways to deal with a wife that's experiencing this stuff, so it doesn't drag you down too. He didn't go, but we go and some people, because we're working together, because therapists are people too, and we go to couples therapy and individual therapy and family therapy and whatever other therapy we need, because we walk the walk and talk the talk. Period. Anyways, so I definitely, like, you know, wish that he could have, like, I was hoping and wishing for something that I don't think he was able to, like, give from his cup, because it was already basically running on E. But I do feel like our son is he makes us be the best versions of ourselves. Like, I feel like everything, like, people think that getting married or having kids is like a band-aid, or it's going to make things glamorous. I look at it as a mirror. So everything you didn't want to face, you're going to have to face it. Like, that's just what it is. And I feel like him and my son make me want to be the best person that I can absolutely be. And I know even recently I've been in, like, this space of, like, wow, like, we really have the opportunity to be partners, and really trying to understand, like, I feel like a key to, like, overcoming a lot of things, and trying to even just be intimately closer to a partner while trying to be a parent, is figure out how to partner together. How can you do that's why you're married. Like, you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to be on the journey alone. It doesn't have to be these stereotypicals that women are supposed to do everything. Like I said, I've learned and I'm learning. My husband is a caregiver taker by nature, and I'm not that. I'm used to being taken care of. That's a mind-blowing thing, because one thing that I've learned, like I said, it's a mirror. I'm realizing how our roles and how we've grown up is playing out in our relationships. They don't change just because, like, you can try to be like something that you're not, or something that you hope to be. Like, you can always be better, but your roles and how you initially and generally are, and your family of origin, they're going to show up no matter how many different things you do. So it's just like, we're learning, like, how can we, and we're trying to learn, which is why we're going to couples therapy. How can we navigate these roles better? How can we balance each other out? How can we really partner and really make sure that we're building a solid family foundation, instead of just letting things kind of fester and realizing where our shortcomings are, and then just kind of be like, I'm not going to change because I got other things to focus on. I got to do this. And then so I definitely feel like it's impacted us in some ways of, like, negative, but I'm like, listen, like, I start saying now, I'm like, the devil must know that we got something great. Like, we came together for a really great purpose, because he done tried to take us out the game very quickly. In this first, he done tried to make us just throw the whole thing overboard. And I'm like, and we still coming out on top. So he must know that we have something great that we're supposed to do together, and that we're supposed to continue to do as a family. So we're going to fight for it, because I'm like, we've been through a lot in this whole last year and a half. So I'm just like, you know, it can only get better from here. Like, that's the way that I try to, like, look at it. And I'm like, all we got to do is just get the skills and build it. Our minds are in the right state. We're already, some post or somebody said, like, if you're already thinking about the ways you can be a better mom, or if you're already constantly concerned, or you're trying to figure out how can things be better, you're a great mom. Like, you're great, because you're even considerate. A lot of parents, that don't even cross their mind. not one
Right.
second of the day. It don't cross their mind. So I feel like that has been some of like the bigger challenges of and the bigger joys probably of just our growth areas of being parents and being married. And then sometimes, you know, we hope, I'm like, we did one little trip to Vegas and listen, we lived. It was a time. Okay, somebody watched our son and it was a time. And I'm like, we need that at least once a year. Like we need to just be us and be ourselves, and like, you know, because we didn't really get a lot of chances to do that fully. So I'm just like, you know, if y'all can, anybody that's listening that's in anybody's parents community, it takes a community, y'all. I don't
Girl.
feel like children at this point are meant to be just raised by one person or two people. It takes a community. Help people out. I'm giving the public SOS. Help people out, because you create healthy family dynamics and you have healthy kids that are growing up, instead of just being like, you'll figure it out, or y'all can do it, or y'all be all right. No, give the help.
And stop asking people to pay you to watch your family members.
Oh Lord.
Stop that. Okay.
Oh Lord.
Especially knowing we in a recession and then dealing with inflation. I shouldn't have to pay you to watch your family member.
Hard, not expecting anything in return.
No, I'll bring their own food and everything. You don't have to pay their food, but like I'm literally just asking you to sit there. Like
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it should be more help, at least in the Black community. Because I feel like I mean, this is a thing for all communities in a sense, but I do notice it more in the Black community. People or family members saying like, well, I'll watch them, but only for this short amount of time, or like, oh no, it's always I'm too busy, or oh, I didn't have nobody to watch my kids, so you got to figure it out, or well, I
Listen,
can
we
watch
gotta
them if you
stop that,
pay. It's
god darn
like,
it, the
bro,
dysfunction.
yeah, it's crazy.
I don't understand that. Don't we want to be better? Don't we want every generation to be better? Don't we want our family lines to just grow? Like, why everybody got to be in that bitter state of, well, I didn't have it, so figure it out.
Exactly. And that's the same reason why we feed our kids the things we feed them, because just because y'all had to eat McDonald's or y'all was eating soul food every day, look where y'all got at. Half of y'all got high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, and diabetes. Like, why would I follow that? If I don't, you know better, you do better. So it's the same thing. Like, if you know you needed help when you had a kid, why wouldn't you want to help? And it's just the crabs in the barrel mindset is very just like toxic in our community across the board, and it needs to stop.
Yeah. I agree. And I definitely want to ask you just about, like, you know, if there's ways that you feel like you've changed since becoming a mother, or things that you feel like still hold you back from being the best mother you want to be. Because I definitely feel like sometimes, or I know for sure, sometimes the people that are around you can make you feel like you're not growing because they're so used to the version of you that they're used to, that they don't see all of the ways that you may have transformed, or all of the ways that you may be just blossoming into whatever role that you are doing, so it can keep you feeling like you're stuck at where they met you. I think that's an Instagram post too. But I'm curious, like, you know, what are some ways that you feel like you've really changed in being a mom, or even like some things that like you feel like you want to do better with?
I would say I have grown a lot. Like, being more empathetic. I am more affectionate. I'm not naturally an affectionate person. So my son has made me more affectionate, but more of like, I think God knew I needed to be a boy mom too, because I don't know what I would do with a little girl. I don't even know how to do my own hair. So, I've been more organized, or try to be more organized, more driven, just because I don't want my son to have to struggle at all. Like, I just, I want the foundation to be set and for him to just do well in school. I would like him to go to school on a full athletic scholarship, like, so he can be experienced being a student athlete in college. And just like, it made me just want to be even more of a go-getter. Like, I've always been kind of like that, but this is like, it's just like amped it even more. It also made me look at life in a different perspective, as like, it's not just about me, it's about being here for my son. So certain things, like interactions with negative people, or just things I'm just like, it's not really worth my time, because at the end of the day, I gotta make sure I get home to my son, or I just need to be in good health for my son. So it's made me want to watch more what I eat. So his diet being strict has also helped me, because I kind of just eat what he eats, and unless I'm like bored. It's also made me be more consistent with being in the gym. Like, I've always been in the gym in a sense, but it just made me want to stay consistent, because I just want to be here as long as possible if I can. I don't want it to be a health reason. And I've noticed, like, most people see the growth. I don't know. I would say some people see the growth. My close friends, right? Because me and my close best friends, we all ended up pregnant around the same time. So our sons are literally like months apart from each other.
Yeah.
Like
They
one is
already had a best friend crew.
yeah, and it's so crazy because it's like was the three of us and we all have three boys. So it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they're gonna grow up together. We all live in one lives in SoCal, one's in New Orleans, but like they will grow up together in a sense. So I had that like sense of community and they know the growth and just as well I see it in them. But I do have some friends, like childhood friends, who still are stuck with the old me. Like, and when I say old me, I say like undergrad me that or the side of me that's very funny, very sarcastic, doesn't take life that serious, always cracking a joke, not about to be serious at nobody's funeral. So I think people think that of me because they don't have access to me like they used to. So they assume that I had a friend, a childhood friend, and I probably won't I don't know. If she see this, I don't really care. But that's another part of being a mom. I don't really care. 'Cause at the end of the day, I'm grown. But I probably won't ever reach out to her again because of how she views me and hasn't been able to move forward
Yeah,
from that. And
grow
that's,
with you.
I had to acknowledge that's her own personal growth journey that she has to work on. I've reached my point in moving forward. So I had a friend I had touched out to like, put some things on the table that I recognized my role wasn't the best of friend, back then. And the feedback I felt was like, oh, like, kind of like, how are you so well at being a therapist or like in this role? Because it felt like matter of fact, like, oh, like I know you crack jokes, you're always this funny, like not taking something serious type person. And I was like, girl, I'm 35. Like I'm grown. Like I'm a whole mom. Like I'm a whole wife. And she's neither of these things, which is nothing to knock her, but it's like we're not on the same page in that aspect. So I don't expect you to understand that part of
Yeah.
me. I also haven't allowed you access into my life either. Because it's been years. But things that were shared was like, oh, okay, you're still stuck with my previous
Yeah.
younger, immature self and haven't realized people grow. People don't stay that way. And you can't assume just because you don't personally know me anymore that I'm not literally the shit now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like,
Or even if people do personally know you, people still will leave you where they may or who they think you are, the perception of who they think you are. And that may not be the full, honest perception.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a thing I get a lot is maybe like rest in bitch face or whatever, because I'm very kind of introverted. Now as an adult, I think maybe when I was in college, maybe I was an extrovert. I don't know, but I'm definitely not the person I was back at Southern University when I was early 20s. I was young. I'm not that person anymore. So I think it's taking time for people to accept I'm a mom and I'm still I guess I'm a fun mom, but I'm also just not I'm traditional and not traditional. There's certain things
Yeah.
I allow and certain things I'm just not going to, and certain things I stand for that I maybe didn't back then. And everybody don't have access to me now. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's really important, and it's okay to set those boundaries. I know that's definitely been a big thing is boundaries has been an area that I've grown in and still continue to grow. I feel like I'm in this, like I'm really, I told my husband, like I'm really vibing with butterflies and like just evolve because that's where I feel like I am. I'm not quite the big, wonderful, vibrant blue butterfly that I want to be, but I'm like in this cocoon, really going through this pruning process, really having a bunch of awareness, trying to like be unashamed to like look at all the icky stuff and all the great things, and then just to evolve into this wonderful wife, mother, Chetina, God-loving person that I am, and everything that's going to come with that, and being unashamed about that and letting it be known what that's going to be. And then so I definitely feel like it's been really important for me to find the spaces to process in the best way in a safe space to process so that I can figure out how to take actions, because I know if anything that's held me back from being the mom I want to be, it's myself, or like my perception of things, or holding myself back. Because with all of us, we can be whoever we want to be. We can be the kind of parents we want to be. It all takes a simple decision and then putting actions behind that decision. And then things can change. And then so typically we're standing in our own way. And then so I do feel like I've grown the line. The person that I was is not who I am. And that probably, a lot of people tell me all the time, I know you better than you know yourself. No, you do not. You do not know me better than I know myself. the only other person I feel like probably knows the ins and outs of me right now would be my husband. And then so it's just like, if you're not him and you're not me and you're not my little baby who's trying to figure out things, you probably don't know 100% who I am in this world, because whatever views you had of me before, they're the glasses that you're wearing. So until you take the mugs off, you're not going to see me differently anyway, or you're not going to see the growth anyway. And then so I found it, like, you know, just really important for me to kind of remind myself of who I'm becoming, who I am, and then who I once was, so that I can try and kind of like navigate things just a little bit differently, because I have this beautiful vision in my mind that sometimes even needs pruning, because I feel like society, or how I grew up, or how I even think things are supposed to be, they get the best of me. And I'm like, but what if that's not traditions? What if that's not how things are supposed to be? Or is it okay to not be that way and still be a great mom, still be considered a great wife, still be considered a great person? Like, is it okay to just reshape that into how you and what works for your family unit, how y'all see it to be, and let that be that, and not let anybody make you feel less than, or make yourself feel less than because it looks different than how it was supposed to look? So I feel like I'm still like working through that, but I definitely know that some of the ticks and things that I probably did before, I either don't do them anymore, or I'm growing out of those, because I know that every decision I make impacts not only myself, but a husband and a child now. So I take it all seriously. And reason number 365,000 of, we probably already thought about it. Like, I've already thought about all the ways that I need to change, all the things I need to do, all of my shortcomings, and trying to just be the best version of myself, to where even I will try to approach people in a loving, understanding way, and they'll still think that I'm like being rude, or I'm being this, and I'm like, I'm not. But again, if people are still looking at you through the glasses they've already looked at you in, they're not going to see nothing any different, no way. So I think that has been some of just the most transformative things. And I definitely want to wrap up our conversation with joys, because I don't want people to think like, well, dang, I don't want to have no kids. I want to wrap it up with some joys, because let me tell y'all, I call motherhood, wifehood, everything my beautiful chaos, because it is the most beautiful chaos I've ever experienced. But guess what, baby? I wouldn't want to be in no other chaotic thing other than this. Like, I wouldn't choose anything else other than this. So I definitely would like to hear just like, what are some joys just of being a mother, as well as just some advice that you have for people that are becoming moms, that might just have had a child, that might be within that first year of postpartum? What are all some more of the good things?
I would say it's been a joy just watching my son grow. Also, they grow really fast. Like, I didn't really know that, put that in the concept until you're in it, and you're like, dang, like, you've already talking, like, you know, like, it's funny. But I think the joy is just looking at myself being a mom, or like when my son will just come, like yesterday he did a couple times, he just came up to me and just held my head and got a hug, and you know, he'll come lay on me. He's very much like a mama's
babe,
boy.
I love you.
Yeah, just like a mama's boy or something. And so, or he'll come want to sit on me and watch his little show, and we'll just lay, and I'm just like, look, it's so cute. I also find the joy in the fact of my son's like, he's very like polite, and he's a very sweet kid and like friendly. So, and I think, we taught him this very, when he wasn't even talking, we give him something, he said, say thank you, or you know, like things. So now his thing, we give him everything, it's like thank you, or his new thing this week is like thank you very much. Like,
he said, I gotta make sure it's extra fancy,
so
they
like,
know it's
ask
real.
for help, and he's like, help me, like little things. Or he's just really sweet. Or I've seen him interact with other kids. He's very friendly and like wants to be a part of it and just like play and have fun. So just seeing him interact with kids and strangers and be nice, like, and you know, when kids are having meltdowns or they get hurt, he's like, oh no, and like touches their face. And you know, he's want to make sure they're okay. And I'm just like, I have a nice kid. Like, because there's some kids at playgrounds, I'm like, you little shit. Like, like, you know, like, I be looking at them like, yeah, what's happening? Like, you know, like, and or they'll be like mean to my son, and I'm just like,
they got a lot that's happening.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, I tell myself, you know, maybe their home environment is not the best, or, you know, parents. And then I see how some parents parent their kids, and it's just, you know, I'm just like, I wouldn't do that, but that's your kid, you know? So it's more so seeing how like things that my son is witnessing of me and my husband model, he actually puts it into action when he's with other kids and other people at their homes. He's respectful. He's not rude or mean. He's not destroying. Sometimes I'm like, dang, you don't have tantrums over there, but you be falling out over here. So I'm like, oh, that's a good thing because he's okay. Um, and him wanting to learn. That's another thing. Like he
Mhm.
loves books. Like he don't know how to read, but he sure will sit there and have his book open and like what he said
Right.
yesterday. We introducing the dogs back into our house. So to hopefully his allergy doesn't be so bad. So like we had slowly introduced it. So we have a Frenchie. So we brought Nala in because she's smallest because we have a European Doberman too, but we just was like, let's start with small and then bring in
Mhm.
Thanos. So he had his book. He's sitting on the floor with Nala and he's like, no, no.
This is
And
you.
I'm like, he's like trying to read to her. And I'm like, she doesn't read, Kai. Like, she doesn't know what you're saying. And it was a picture of Lightning McQueen because it was like a storybook of Lightning McQueen. And that's his thing. That's his thing. And so he looked at me. I know what I was talking about. He said, this Lightning McQueen, right? And I said, it was actual a picture of Lightning McQueen. I was like, it is Lightning. He said, okay. And he turned back around.
Like, and back to what I was doing.
It was like Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen. I was like, all right, bro, you won that
Because
one.
if we gonna
But
have a dog, we gonna make sure they speak.
I would say, like, just if you're a new mom, I know everybody says this, trust the process, but it's like create your own process and
Mhm.
just be okay with every day is gonna probably look a little bit different. But those small moments when it's just like, man, I can't believe this is my child. Like I'm always to myself, like, I can't believe I'm somebody's mama. Like
For real though.
would have never thought this. Like, like I am responsible. Being okay that things will feel weird at times, and this is what motherhood looks like for you.
Mhm.
It may not look like anything you've ever seen or exposed to, and it might not match your friends group.
Yeah.
But what you experience is what's really happening, and that's really the only thing that matters is listening to yourself and your own like female intuition.
Yeah.
Just
I love that. I love that. I think that's really great. I agree with you on just the joys. The joys is the biggest thing. I consistently probably look at pictures from pregnancy all the way up until now at least once a week because it does fly by very quickly and I'm just like my baby's now trying to like use the little walker to push himself and walk and I'm like you couldn't do this 3 weeks ago. Like what, oh, this is so much and then I just like wake up and he's always been a baby that just smiles like he
Mhm.
has a smile to brighten your day. He wakes up smiling, and I've always been so blessed and grateful for that, especially given the depression, anxiety, and different things I experienced. And being that mom, like, oh, I hope my baby turns out okay, and just knowing like it gives me reassurance every day, like he's gonna be just fine because you're
Mhm.
doing a great job. You and dad are doing really great jobs, and you're being intentional about it. And then so he's always so happy. And I told my husband the other day, ain't nobody on earth happier than our son is to see us every day. Like every day, it's the same level of happy. I'm like, we must not get on his nerves because every
Right.
day he's like, "Oh, mommy, daddy," like he's just so happy to be there. Like, so that always like humbles me and keeps me grounded, just being that joy and just looking at his little face. I'm always like, God dang, you cute. Like, I'm not even biased. You really cute. Like, you just just here and just man, like it just makes me very happy and just to like see him grow and know that each day I wake up I have another chance to do something different if I so choose and to be better if I so choose to be that and just feeling grateful to have a partner that like I said I can learn how to partner with like really try and figure out how can we partner to make things more balanced and how can we be the best that we can for our family unit and we really take intentionality about having another child and like people having children within their capacities because we don't want to have too many children outside of what we can handle or what we can provide for or what we can give a good life for. So like we know there's things that we're trying to work out and do before we even entertain having another child. That like we're hoping that our son Rael doesn't get the butt end of things. He's going to experience some things because we're going through growing pains. But
Mhm.
like we're doing it and going through it for a greater cause, and then hoping that with the next child we just continue to get better as we solidify ourselves as a unit.
Mhm.
And then so I definitely feel like you said, just being okay with knowing what the experience is. It changes, and it's not going to always look how they said it will look, but it's how it's going to look for you, and knowing that that's
Mhm.
okay. And I feel like it's really important to find something to ground yourself in every day. Like I said, I ground myself in my son's smile and just being grateful that we get to still continue to spend time together each and every day because everybody doesn't get that opportunity.
Mhm.
And I feel like having a mom, like I need more moms in my life that are honest Like, I love honesty. That's what's guiding me through anytime I turn to somebody. If I don't feel like you're honest 100% about what the experience is of being a wife or a mom, I'm probably not going to talk to you about some deeply rooted things. I'm just not. Or if I don't feel like you can handle being honest or some honesty, I'm just not going to do it. So I feel like having honest moms that are just like, we out here and we baddies and we mamas and we figuring it out. Like, I appreciate and thrive off of that, and probably need more mommy time, hang out with more moms like in my life, because it really makes a huge difference to have that level of, like, support. But I definitely say, like, if you're a first time mom, second time mom, third time mom, like, just take it one day at a time and trust the process, ask for help, and know that it can and it will get better. It can and it will get better, and there are resources out there for you. I'll try to drop some even in like the little information box, and try to share as much as I can, because I know that that's really important. And the first year is tough, but honestly, they say that, but honestly, each new chapter comes with its own levels of obstacles. It's just different levels of it. So it comes with as much joy as it comes with obstacles. It comes with the joy too. So just kind of buckling up and being along for the ride, and just taking it all with grace, and knowing that you're covered and you're good. Like, that would probably be some of my advice to any of the mamas that are becoming mamas out there. And when you have that first birthday, celebrate, because it needs to be a celebration. Darn it. It needs to be a celebration with a goddamn parade coming down the street. So, kudos to all the moms out there that are killing it, that are being baddies. If anybody even told you that you're a baddie, you's a baddie. And if you feel like you left, you back and you better, and you coming back like you never left, don't even worry about it. Like, so yes. I thank you so much, Gabrielle, for coming on the platform and just like sharing a part 1 and a part 2 experience with me. Like, this topic is very near and dear to my heart, because I just feel like, I said, Black moms in specific don't get the space to just be vulnerably themselves as mothers. We couldn't be that from the time we got on this American soil, and lots of times we struggle to be that way now. And then so I really wanted us to have the space for people to listen in on this conversation, to feel like they was part of the conversation too. And I hope y'all doing a bunch of girls as you listening to it. So again, please tell the people where they can connect with you about your business, and if they have any questions, where they can reach out.
You can reach me at www.opmtherapy.com, or you can email me directly at intake@opmtherapy.com. I was like, wait, I said that at first. Yeah, intake@opmtherapy.com. So those 2 spaces, you can find me, or you can search me on Psychology Today and just type in my name, Gabrielle McQueen, and it will show up.
Yes, and she and her practice are currently taking clients. So if y'all looking for that, please reach out. Same thing here, alwayslivelovely.com, www.alwayslivelovely.com. You can email me at connect@alwayslivelovely.com. I'm on all social media platforms. Well, mostly all at Always Live Lovely as well. I'm accepting individual clients as well as couple clients. I also take a couple of insurances through Headway. So if you're looking for a therapist, listen, people always talking about they're looking for Black therapists. It's 2 Black therapists right here that's telling y'all we got the openings. You just got to be willing to make the investment, because it can be life-changing. So I appreciate you so much, like I said, for coming on this platform. I look forward to continuing to collaborate with you on continued things. Listen, me and her, we've been buddying it up, because being in private practice is not the easiest of things. So being able to have people that understand and get it on your side is just everything. It helps to keep you going, because it's a transition. Okay. So I thank you so very much. And I hope that y'all stick around for whatever things are going to look like for season 3, whatever things are going to look like moving forward, period. But just thank y'all for rocking with me throughout this whole season. I know it started, and then, like I told you, as y'all could see, I got pregnant, I had a baby, I had to stop, but it came back, and I finished the season out. So just make sure that you took the opportunity to listen to any of the episodes, even from season 1, because I don't make these episodes to be standalone, or like, oh, that's an old episode. No, we talk about real stuff in every episode. So 10 years from now, you should still be able to listen to it and get a gem from it. So go back, catch up on any of the episodes. It's on YouTube. It's on all platforms for podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, the whole 9, you name it, it's on there. And I just look forward to seeing y'all in season 3.
Thank you for having me, Chetina.
Bye.